With news pouring in from all parts of the world in the stirring days in which we live, the British people read their papers more than ever. On the way to work, in train, tube and omnibus, the news is being studied and opinions freely formed.
I grew up in a household where the news was put on when we were having dinner. Whenever there's like a very upsetting story, my mum will turn the news up.
I remember the first time I realised how influential the news was, and it was the first time I became aware of like how it provokes.
I used to watch the news a lot when I was much younger. Even just a few years ago, I would put the news on in the mornings. I don't have the news on now in the mornings at all. Well, my name's Claire. I live in Herefordshire, a little village just outside Ross-on-Wye. I'm a mum and married, work at a supermarket. I enjoy ironing so much that I iron for a lady on a regular basis.
My name is Daisy and I quite like where I live. It's quite an endearing thing to see more than one walk of life because it makes life interesting and it makes you realise you're not the only person on this planet and there are more people with other experiences and just other ways of being, and it's such a enriching thing.
Hi, my name is Imogen Bell. I currently live in Cheltenham. I live in a student house with 3 of my closest friends. I really like it. It's a nice, calm, quiet place to go to after a very busy day of lectures, and I really like living with my friends. I mainly get my news from the BBC. I feel like it's a bit embarrassing to say that you get your news from Instagram, but I do get a lot of my news from Instagram.
Well, television, mostly.
I've started getting my news from The Guardian. I used to mostly get it off Instagram because Instagram is so dopamine boosting fast. Swipe what I was reading, never fully went in.
I think the main issues that come with viewing news is the ability to believe and trust.
I think the news can feel quite inhumane. I think it's really easy on Instagram when you're just scrolling through to feel quite numb to everything.
Yeah, it's all bad and gloomy and desperate and all fighting and hostile and I don't like the news. I don't know where it gets to be, what it is that they decide. This is what we're going to. This is what the public want to know. This is what they should know. Sometimes I think maybe there's things that maybe we shouldn't know. Everything needs to be in the public domain. Sometimes maybe there's too much.
I think the problems on social media can only really be improved by personal growth of each individual.
I don't know that it can be improved. It will change. Everybody would have to want everybody to have the same, and they don't. They don't.
I think it's important to have a good balance of knowing what's going on in the world, but also being able to have the energy to put positivity into other things.
I imagine the future, honestly, to still stay just as hostile.
Like to be there to be as helpful or as supportive and let them get on with theirs and they let me get on with mine, and like that to ripple out across the whole of the globe.
I'd like to have hope for the future, whether that's naive hope or just desperate hope. I give hugs and I smile at children and wave at little toddlers that stare at you in supermarkets, and I say good morning to people when I'm out in the morning, and I say thank you to strangers, because in a world where you can be anything, be kind. In a world where you can do anything, do your best.